Your phone is on the kitchen counter. A voice on the other end is reading numbers off a screen you can't see. She asks if you accept the settlement. Your finger is over the button. One tap and $340,000 of debt becomes $190,000 you don't have either way. We'll come back to this moment. To understand why your finger is shaking, you have to see how it got there. Level 1. $500. A dentist bill you didn't expect. You don't have $500 sitting anywhere, so it goes on the card that already has $200 on it from last month's tire. The interest rate is 24%. You don't read that part. You never read that part. You tell yourself you'll pay it off next check. Next check comes. Rent takes it first. The $500 stays. It grows $11 in interest before you even notice it's still there. You check the app twice a day, not out of discipline, out of dread. The number is small. The feeling is not. This is the first time debt stops being a tool and starts being a tenant living in your chest, rent-free. Except it's the opposite of rent-free. It's the most expensive roommate you'll ever have. You tell no one. $500 doesn't feel like a story you tell. It feels like a mistake you're supposed to have already fixed. The first rule: at $500, debt is embarrassment. It hasn't become architecture yet. Level 2. $5,000. 3 cards now. You didn't plan this. Nobody plans this. It's a transmission repair here, a slow month there, a subscription you forgot to cancel stacked on a birthday gift you couldn't skip. The minimum payments alone are $180 a month. You make them. You feel responsible making them. You don't realize the minimum is designed to keep you exactly where you are, not move you forward. You check your credit score for the first time in years. It moved down 40 points. You didn't do anything dramatic. You just existed inside the math. You start Googling things at midnight: debt consolidation, balance transfer. The ads know you're looking before you finish typing. You close the tab both times. You tell yourself you'll handle it when things settle down. Things don't settle down. They compound. The second rule: at $5,000, you're not drowning. You're treading water in a pool that's slowly being tilted. Level 3. $15,000. The car loan joins the cards. Not a want, a need. The old one finally died on the highway, and you had 4 days to solve it before you lost the job that requires you to drive to it. $340 a month for the car. $310 a month across the cards. You start doing math in the grocery store, standing in the aisle, calculating whether the store brand saves enough to matter. It doesn't, not really. You buy it anyway. Small savings feel like control when the big numbers have stopped feeling like anything you control at all. Your friend invites you to a wedding 2 states away. You say you'll see about flights. You already know the answer. You just don't want to say it out loud. Avoidance becomes a skill you're getting good at. You stop opening statements the day they arrive. You open them 4 days later, standing over the trash can, like reading them faster than admitting them will soften the number. It never does. The third rule: at $15,000, debt stops being an event. It becomes a routine you build your whole life quietly around. Level 4. $40,000. Student loans wake up. They'd been asleep, deferred, forgotten in the part of your brain reserved for problems with no due date. Now there's a due date. $310 a month, on top of everything else. Your total monthly debt service crosses $900. Your take-home is $3,400. You do the math in your head at 2 a.m. more than once. A quarter of your income gone before you've eaten, before you've paid rent, before you've lived a single day of the month you're already paying for in advance. A collections call comes in from a number you don't recognize. You let it go to voicemail. You don't listen to the voicemail. You know what it says without playing it. Your coworker mentions a raise she just got. You say congratulations and mean it, and also feel something curdle quietly in your stomach that has nothing to do with her and everything to do with the gap between what you make and what you owe. You stop telling people your plans for the weekend because the plans are always the same. Nothing. Home. Math. The fourth rule: at $40,000, you're not managing debt anymore. Debt is managing your calendar. Level 5, $75,000. The first call you actually answer. A collections agency. Professional voice, scripted, calm. They're not aggressive. That's almost worse. Aggressive would feel like a fight you could have. This feels like paperwork being filed against a version of you that used to have options. You negotiate a payment plan you can't really afford and agree to it anyway because saying no feels like it would make the voice on the phone angry, and you've had enough anger pointed at your bank account this year. Your credit score is in the 500s now. You get denied for an apartment. The landlord doesn't say why. He doesn't have to. You already know. You move into a smaller place with a roommate you don't particularly like because the math only works with 2 names on the lease. You skip your cousin's engagement dinner, not because you don't love her, because the $60 it would cost is $60 you've already spent in your head 4 different ways before the invite even arrived. You start flinching at unknown numbers. Not fear exactly, something quieter and more permanent. A learned reflex, like touching a stove once and never trusting stoves again. The fifth rule: at $75,000, the debt stops being a number in an account. It becomes a filter on every relationship you have. Level 6, $150,000. A letter arrives that isn't a bill. It's a summons. A card company you stopped paying 8 months ago is suing you for the balance, plus fees, plus interest, plus a lawyer's costs you didn't know you'd be paying for. You sit with the letter on the kitchen table for 3 days before you open the second envelope inside it. Your hands aren't steady when you do. You call a number listed on the paperwork and a lawyer's assistant explains, flatly, that you can respond or you can default, and if you default, they'll likely garnish your wages. You don't sleep that night. You don't sleep most nights now. Your paycheck arrives and $600 of it is gone before you see it. The garnishment order went through while you were deciding what to do about the summons that led to it. You stop checking your bank app altogether for the first time since level 1, not because you stopped caring, because looking doesn't change the number, and not looking is the only control left available to you. Your family starts asking questions in the careful, circling ways families do when they suspect something but haven't been told. You deflect. You always deflect. The shame at this level isn't about the debt anymore. It's about how long you hid it. The sixth rule: at $150,000, silence stops being a coping mechanism and becomes its own debt, collecting interest in every relationship you're not honest in. Level 7. $300,000. Medical debt joins everything else. An emergency you didn't choose, a surgery insurance covered 60% of, a bill that arrived 4 months later for the remaining 40% you didn't know you'd owe until it was already owed. You are no longer tracking individual balances. You track one number: total. It has stopped being math you can do in your head. You need a spreadsheet just to hold the shake of it. A financial counselor uses the word insolvent in a sentence about you, and you sit very still when she says it, because it's the first time a professional has said out loud what you've felt privately for 2 years. She mentions bankruptcy, gently, like she's done this 1,000 times, because she has. You don't say yes, you don't say no. You go home and don't tell anyone the word was said at all. Your marriage, if you have one, starts fraying at the seams of money, the way most marriages do, quietly, in the space between "how was your day" and the thing neither of you is saying. You stop opening mail entirely, not avoidance anymore, self-preservation. The seventh rule: at $300,000, you're not choosing to hide from the debt, you're choosing which version of collapse to survive first. Level 8, $500,000. The number stops being personal and starts being structural. This is where businesses fail, where a divorce becomes financial as much as emotional, where a health crisis without adequate insurance turns into a life sentence measured in interest rates instead of years. You are not lazy. You did not make one catastrophic decision. You made 40 reasonable ones under conditions that kept multiplying against you. A medical emergency here, a job loss there, an economy that made starting over cost more than staying stuck. The debt settlement company calls. This is the version of the moment from the beginning. You're standing in your kitchen. The voice on the phone reads the number. Accept the settlement, and $340,000 becomes $190,000 you'll pay over 6 years, and your credit is wrecked for a decade, but the calls stop. Your finger hovers over the button. You think about the $500 dental bill 9 years ago that started all of this. The version of you who thought $500 was the crisis. You almost laugh. You don't. You press accept. The 8th rule. At $500,000, debt stops being a mistake you made and becomes an identity you have to actively refuse to let it become. Somewhere, right now, someone is staring at a $500 balance on a dental bill, telling themselves they'll pay it off next check. They don't know yet that the number was never really the number. The number was a door, and whether they walk through it defeated or walk through it awake is the only thing that was ever actually up to them.